Hello and welcome to the Regiment Support Service podcast. Today I've got with me Frank Caddick, who was in the King's Own Regiment was born in 1936. And you're 87 years old, is that right, Frank?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so today, welcome and thank you for coming on, first of all, Frank. You're going to tell us some tales of what it was like in your national service back in the 50s, I believe, and a little bit of information about what it was like growing up in World War II.
Yeah.
Obviously, just like to start off at the beginning. When you were a boy growing up, you were born in 1936, so you were growing up obviously during the World War II. What was it like at that time when you were a young boy? What are your memories from that time growing up?
Well, the memories of when I was growing up, it was during the war years, and of course, there was no sweets or bananas. I never tasted my first banana till I was 12 years of age.
Right. Okay.
But you didn't know any difference. It was just a norm, really. So you went to school as normal. But during the war, they had what you call the Blitz. And the German bombers used to come in to bomb Liverpool docks. And of course, there was the docks, they had what you call the Blitz. And the thing was, when the sirens started about 6 o'clock at night, and that's to let you know that the bombers were coming and everybody had to take shelter. We had an Anderson shelter at the bottom of the garden, and we used to use that. But most nights we used to go out in the lorry up towards Holborn Hill, and we could actually see the whole of Liverpool from the hill. They dropped bombs on the docks, and what we soon I remember was the whole docks went on fire.
Right.
And one of the things I learned later on, that they'd actually hit an ammunition ship in the docks, and that blew part of Bootle away. And it was very difficult for the people. But as a child, you were issued with a gas mask, which you carried around when you went to school. This was just in case a raid come and they would drop in gas bombs. But school went on just pretty much as it will. Unless we got any bombs dropped near us and there was craters in the road. One thing I do remember, there was a lot of horse-drawn horse and carts and horses. They used to pull them, and they used to be stabled. And of course, when the Blitz was on, they used to be terrified and they were running around the streets. So you had to take shelter out of a cart horse running down the street, didn't run over you.
Okay, and so going to school, you say it was you were issued with a gas mask, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and did you ever have to use that?
No.
Okay. And when the sirens went off, just run us through that experience. Obviously, I mean, must have been a very young boy of about 5, I would imagine, at the time.
Yeah.
Was it obviously nighttime, or did they go off at any time of the day? Or
it was generally, I would say, in the early evening. I would say the siren went off, I would say, around about between 6 and 7.
Right.
PM of the night. And what used to happen then was it'd go on for a couple of hours, and then the old colour siren would sound.
Okay.
And it was to say that the bombing had all finished and it'd gone.
Yeah.
So, well, I remember just outside the door where we lived, there was an anti-aircraft gun. And as this gun used to fire, the letterbox knocker used to bang up and down.
Right. That 2 hours. Where did you go? You had a shelter in the garden, did you?
There was a shelter in the garden, but sometimes we went. There was a wagon, and we used to go on the back of the wagon up to Holborn Hill, and that was like kind of 3 miles away from where we lived. And of course, there was no bombing there because we were all aiming for the docks.
Okay. What was the shelter like inside?
The Anderson shelter was, I would say, it was probably about 3 meters long.
Okay.
By about 2 meters. And it was very cramped. And the problem was if it was raining, we'd have a puddle of water in the bottom of the shelter.
Is it just a question of just sitting there and waiting for it to warm?
Well, you'd sit there, and because you'd have a couple of candles, and the candles were, to give you light, really.
Yeah. So there was no electricity or anything. It was just, and I take it some food supplies were in there as well for you to.
If we had some,
yeah,
we'd take sandwiches in.
And so the rains would last for about 2 hours, and then
it could last for about 2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours, and then what would happen then? Obviously, that would be probably near about midnight. I'd take it, or getting close to midnight. You'd come out, you'd go back into the house then.
When the old clear siren had sounded, yes.
Yeah. And what was the devastation like? Did you, when you came out of the shelter after the raid had finished, could you see what had happened then, or was it only the next day you could fully see what had happened?
You would probably see it the next day.
Right.
And there was a place, Annie Road, which was about 4 or 5 streets away from us. It got a direct hit with a bomb, and it killed over 100 people.
Right. So the rations as well back then. What was the feed like? I mean, everyone was on ration cards, weren't they? So
yeah, I had ration cards, and you could get pretty much. You get things like vegetables and things, and most people used to keep chickens, and the reason they kept them was to get the eggs. And of course, once the hens started laying, they went in the oven.
Right, okay. So, a normal day back then at school was pretty much, so you still got to school most of the time then, or was was that ever stopped at any point, or for safety reasons, or so you got a normal education, you would say, during that period?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, obviously you finished school. What age was it you finished school at?
I left school when I was 15.
Okay.
And then I got a job working for my dad, who owned a little barge company. And he had barges on the Leiden Liverpool Canal. And he had horse-drawn barges, steam barges, and motor barges.
Okay. And what was your involvement there? What was your job exactly?
Well, in school, it was like kind of learning all about the business.
Okay.
And one of the jobs that was happening at that time, when I was a young boy, was they used to have barges down the docks. And when the ships would come in, they used to keep their refuge on the deck. And they would put the refuge into the barge. Also used to bring lambs from New Zealand and Australia, and they were frozen. And when they would take the lambs out, the sawdust that was packed to pack them in to keep them frozen, that used to come over into the barge.
Okay. And so the next, thing I'd like to ask you is just obviously about the national service. What that was like, how all that, what the experience of it was like. So, first of all, what age were you drafted into national service?
18.
18 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was 2 years. Am I right in thinking?
2 years national service.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were sent to, where did you go for your training? And how long did that last for?
Well, what happened to us? We got a letter that said to report down to Liverpool to the army centre, recruiting centre, and they'd put you through a medical to see if you're fit enough. And of course, I come out A1, which is what you'd be when you were 18. And and then you went and asked you what would you like to be. Now, after, I'd like to go in the Navy, but they wanted you to sign up for 5 years to go in the Navy, and I wasn't prepared to do that. I just wanted to do my Army National Service. So anyway, got the letter to say to report to Harrington Barracks in Thornby, and off I went.
Okay.
And we got there, and of course it was all lots of other 18-year-olds drafted in. And of course the thing what they did then was give you your kit, and you were put in a billet, a wooden billet, and the only heating they had was a big stove in the middle of the billet.
Okay.
And you introduce yourself to the guy next door, and you got to know all the fellas.
So the training, how long was the actual training before you were posted somewhere? Was that six weeks? Was it?
It was more like 8 weeks.
8 weeks. And what did that entail? What was the training like?
Well, first of all, for the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks, they would scream and shout at you. You'd have to get changed into your different clothing things, like your work wear. And then we'll get you dressed into your uniform. And then you'd march up and down the parade square. And then pretty much like kind of, they pushed you down. But after 4 weeks, it turned and they built you up again then. But it involved all sorts of things.
Yeah. Really interesting. And so you've done your initial training, and you will obviously you're about to find out whereabouts you were going to be sent to. So just run through how that happened, how you found out where you were going,
and. Well, what happened then was after. Let me tell you what happened when we used to get the wages. You get your wages once a week, and you'd have to go up and select properly to get your wages, and they paid you 15 shillings a week. Now, if you put it into Doris money, that would be like how much would that be? 15 shillings, be about £1.50.
Okay.
Yeah,
not much.
So it wasn't much, and after that, you had to buy blacking to polish your boots, boot polish, and Blanco to put your weapon there. And what else did you do? They had an iron in there. You had to have an iron, so we were clubbed up, bought an iron between us.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, just tell me about obviously where you were posted and how that transpired, and when you found out.
Well, what happened then? We had what you call a passing out parade, and the passing out parade is that you completed all your training, and of course you were ready to go and be shipped out somewhere. People going to, not out of our camp, but to other camps. They went to Germany, but we got drafted to go to Hong Kong, which is the Far East. And we got, I think it was a week's leave. And then when we came back, after a week's leave, got out there, and we all went down to, we got the train down to Lime Street Station, where we got on a train at Lime Street, and it took a full day to get down to Southampton. Got to Southampton, and we went aboard the troop ship Dunera. Now, she had hold about 2,000 troops. And it was all exciting stuff when you're 18. And never realised we were going out to what we were really out there for. But anyway, the band was playing, and it was good. And it took us something like, I'd say, about 5 weeks to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And we stopped off in various ports on the way through.
Okay.
And yeah. And one of the things we used to play on board the troop ship was, they called it trombola, but nowadays it's called bingo.
Mm-hmm.
And over the tannoy, they'd shout the numbers out and you'd mark your card,
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting.
So, what was the name of the place that you were sent out for? To the actual place that
we were heading for. We were sent out to Hong Kong, and at that time we were in the Liverpool regiment, and when we got out to Hong Kong, we got we got on they put it on a train and went up to the New Territories, which was on the border with China. And we were like kind of on this border, and their job, if any Chinese wanted to take Hong Kong, we were there to defend it.
Okay, so you were sent there to defend Hong Kong, basically, from any Chinese.
It was a British colony.
Yeah.
And because we were just our regiments had been in Korea, and we were that's where we were heading for, Korea. But they had it. They didn't finish the war, but they had a truce, and they had a truce. So we were in Hong Kong, and that's where we ended up. And I was there for 18 months.
Okay. And what was the name of the base for that you were at Hong Kong?
Well, the local town was called Fan Ling, and our regiment was in 3 camps. One was called B Stables, the other was called Dill's Corner, and the one I was at was called Low Road. Now, Low Road was by the director alongside the fence. So we used to see the Chinese soldiers all the time.
Right, okay. What were they doing when you actually saw them?
Well, it seems us really, in the camp.
Okay.
But there was one time when there was a young officer coming, and he thought they were amassing to attack. And of course, they put on the on alert, and we thought they were going to come over, but they didn't. They were just marching up and down for Mayday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you've arrived in Hong Kong. You were at the camp, and
what happened was when we got to Hong Kong, we were in the Liverpool regiment, but they transferred us into the King's Own Road regiment, and that's the regiment we served in.
Okay.
And the reason was the King's regiment was coming back. So it would have been like imagine we'd have died there and then come back again. So to keep us there, they just rebadged us.
Okay. And you run the camp. So what was it like? You've arrived there. Your day-to-day duties, or what was it like on what jobs that did you have to do while you were there exactly?
Well, when we arrived in 1954. We arrived on Boxing Day, and they were like kind of everybody was on holiday type thing. They were all not interested. Anyway, we were the new platoon coming in, and eventually we got interviewed. And of course, different things in the regiment you could do. Well, when I went for my interview, he said to me, what would you like to do? And I said, I'd like to be on the motor transport, the MT. And he says, oh, there's no vacancies on that. You can go into C Company, which is the same camp as where the MT is. So eventually I got sent down there to C Company. And you go in to see the company commander. And I said to the company commander, I think there's been a mistake here. It says, I should be on the MT. Oh, should you? And I said, yeah. So he says, okay, I'll send you round to the MT. So I went round to the MT, and the commanding officer there see me, and he says, I said, I've got a license. I said, you know, you drive trucks and things like that. He says, oh, okay. He says, we've got somebody leaving within a week. He says, we'll give you the test. And if you pass the test, he says, you can be on the MT. So I had the test and I passed it. And that's what I did, which was a great job.
And why was it such a good job?
Because all the other fellows were soldiering and they were running up and down hills and doing all sorts of things and that. But when I had my truck and I went to various camps, and of course some of the guys that I'd come over on the boat with, they were all asking me, hey, how did you get that job? And I said, it's just luck, wasn't it? But I got it.
Very cool. So you were, they were basically food suppliers, weren't they? And that you were driving around.
Yeah, what the job was really, I'd go up to the stores, and they get all the dry goods and then we delivered them around the camps. It was all the dry stuff, tea and potatoes, biscuits and stuff like that. But all the other stuff they used to come up by train from Hong Kong. So we used to go down to Lang Station, and we used to get the rations off the train. And I always remember when we get apples and oranges and stuff like that, I always used to let a few go over the side, because some of the Chinese kids were absolutely starving. Right. Of course, we'd let a few drop over for them. Yeah.
So, just talk us about, tell us about the, obviously, how it all finished there and the return home.
Yeah, eventually we completed our service, and we came home on the Cheshire troop ship, and she was a very old ship, and it took us extra time to get home because the damn thing broke down twice. But eventually we made it. But we were the last ship to go through the Suez Canal, because NASA, who was wanted the canal back when we were running the British, and he wanted the canal back for Egypt, and there was all sorts of problems. Anyway, we were the last ship through. And then we went, we got there, and we were only back 2 weeks. And of course, the British Army attacked Port Said and Egypt. And that's when you sunk all the ships in the canal.
The people from your regiment, the buddies, did you ever go back to Hong Kong?
I had to do 3 years. We were on a reserve, and we had to report every 12 months to.
So that's after the 2 years.
That was after the 2 years, so 5 months really, because we had 3 years, and you were a trained soldier, you see. So anyway, we all went our ways and got married and had families and that. And about 1889. I met up with one of the guys in Liverpool, and we decided that we'd try and contact all the people we knew, and we did, and we become the the King's Own Liverpool Regiment veterans, and we all used to meet up the second Tuesday of every month when the Royal Nelson Hotel. And when we stayed, we actually got about 65 veterans or soldiers.
Brilliant.
And it was quite good. We used to put all sorts of weekends on and stories.
Didn't you do a trip to?
Yeah, in 1993, we decided that we'd ask the army whether they could accommodate us, because we'd like to go back to Hong Kong to see where we were in the camp, and if they could help us. Anyway, they come back and says, yes, we can. If you can get yourselves out there, we can put you up in Osborne Barracks, which is in Hong Kong. And there was 17 of us went back, and had a wonderful time. It was great going back and seeing the old camp. But the old camp, which we were then, they were, they still had soldiers on, but they were the Gurkhas.
Okay.
And so we went back, had a look, and they took us round and showed us the regiments. And they had our regiment bands there. And we talking to the owner of the pub, and she said she was one of the kids who used to get the apples and bananas and stuff.
So just to cap everything off, your overall experience of the national service, what do you think of it looking back now? Was it good, positive?
I think it was a good thing because you met people from all walks of life. It doesn't matter who you were, and of course you had to fit in. Lots of fellows learned to trade in the national service, and that was good.
Yeah.
Because they went on with that trade when they got demobbed.
So overall, a positive experience, and you look back on fondly.
Yeah, and of course it makes you be able to look after yourself, because when you first go out, you think, I can never do this. For instance, you get your sheet and your blanket and everything, and has to be folded 13 inches square, and everything's got to be neat and polished. So you have to look after yourself and make sure everything's done properly. Yeah. It's just sling it on the floor on the inspection. Brilliant. But I would say, positive. Very good.
Good. Well, listen, thank you very much for coming in today, Frank. It's been fantastic listening to your stories. Yeah, thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Well, it's a good thing that the Regiment Support Service is looking after all the soldiers and raising money for them. And I salute you.
Thank you very much, Frank. Thank you.